Psychology of murderers. You might be doing something ordinary when it crosses your mind. Standing still somewhere, waiting for something that isn't urgent. Letting your phone rest in your hand without really looking at it. A headline slips past. A short line about a killing. A photo that doesn't explain much. There's a pause before anything settles. Not shock, not interest in the usual sense. Just a small suspension. As if part of you steps back to look at the distance between one moment and the next. You might notice yourself wondering how a day that looked normal could end that way. Not to make excuses, not to take sides, just trying to understand how those two things touch. People often treat that kind of wondering as suspicious, as if even staying with a thought says something about you. As if curiosity itself needs a defense. But sometimes it's only the mind noticing that something doesn't line up easily. Most days are held together by interruptions. A feeling starts, another one arrives. Something pulls you away before anything solid forms. For many people, that rhythm happens quietly. They don't notice the moment passing. It just does. When it doesn't, we tend to imagine something extreme. A mind completely unlike our own. A break rather than a shift. But the person in the story probably moved through a familiar morning, recognized their surroundings, followed habits that didn't feel unusual. Whatever changed didn't announce itself clearly. Sometimes the difference isn't in what someone feels, but in what happens afterward. Some people let tension leak out without thinking about it. Through talking, through reacting, through small repairs that reset the day. Others seem to hold things longer. Not on purpose, not because they've decided to, just because there's nowhere obvious for it to go. Over time, that holding can start to feel invisible, like background noise you stop hearing. The body adapts, the mind adjusts. Most people who live like this never hurt anyone. But it can change how close the world feels, how heavy small moments land. Control sometimes shows up here, not in the way it's usually described, more like orientation. Some people experience the world as something they move through. Others experience it as something that presses back. A remark stays longer than expected. A refusal feels sharper than it should. If nothing seems to shift unless something gives way, the sense of scale can soften without anyone noticing. There's also something quieter underneath. A question of meaning, maybe, or the absence of it. Some people feel anchored by the roles they move through. Others move through roles that never quite feel like theirs. When that happens, action can begin to feel like proof. Not relief, not satisfaction, just confirmation that something responded. This is often where things get uncomfortable to talk about, because looking closely starts to feel like getting too close, and closeness feels dangerous here. So the conversation tightens. The explanations harden. Distance feels safer. But there's another shape this can take. Sometimes violence doesn't look like pressure building up. Sometimes it looks like a thinning out. Like a place where feeling fades rather than overflows. In those moments, the act doesn't feel expressive. It feels interruptive, as if sensation itself is being cut short. If you ever notice yourself wondering which version unsettles you more, the one filled with too much feeling or the one marked by almost none, that question might not be asking for an answer. When people talk about murderers, they often want the story to stop moving. A word that closes it. A reason that doesn't change. But human paths rarely settle that cleanly. Different lives arrive at similar moments in different ways. Some loudly, some quietly, some almost without notice. None of this reduces what happened. It just leaves less room for certainty. Difference doesn't mean distance. And distance doesn't always mean safety. It might only mean variation. If sitting with this kind of understanding feels uneasy, That feeling might already be part of what you noticed. In the next video, the focus shifts slightly. Not toward violence itself, but toward why certain thoughts return again and again, even when nothing seems to invite them.